All right. Noticing the time and the presence of a quorum, I now call the Finance Committee to order. The first item is a presentation from Minuteman Tech, and Ellie has the deck, and she's going to take over the presentation.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Heidi Driscoll. I'm the superintendent of Minuteman. This is Nikki Andrade, and she is our business manager. And I think you all know Pam North, our school committee representative from Acton. What we are going to share with you tonight are some highlights about Minuteman. Let's see. Some Acton student highlights. In the class of 2025, we had 14 of the 24 Acton graduates go on to 2- and 4-year colleges, many studying their CTE fields. 8 students entered the workforce, 1 student joined the military, 1 student didn't share plans, but that's okay. There are colleges like Rutgers, UMass Amherst, UMass Lowell, University of Hartford, URI, and Western New England College that our students attended from Acton. We have 71 current students from Acton in 18 of Minuteman's program majors. We have 14 students on co-op, which means during their vocational programming week, they actually work in the field and get paid. So we have 11 seniors and 3 juniors. Juniors were just eligible for co-op as of the 2nd semester. And we want to give a shout out to our athletic achievements of Alyssa and Caitlin Collins, who are the captains of softball and cross country, and their league all-stars softball pitcher and catcher. I know you're waiting for all of our budget numbers, which will be, I'll get it to in a second. I want to make sure you know that the budget you see represents our values. The numbers correspond with what we value and what vocational programming is. And I'm going to hand it over to Nikki Andrade, who is going to give you the breakout of our budget.
Good evening. I'm here to present the FY27 operating and capital budget, just shy of $33.5 million, which is a 2.99% increase from FY26. Just to break that out a little bit more, we have our operating recommendation, which is up 3.84% from FY26, just shy of $26.5 million. Our operating capital is about $1.2 million, which is a 4% decrease. And that's mostly our capital stabilization account, plus our athletic fields debt and any other leases that we have. And then our building project debt has remained consistent year to year, just less than a 1% change at just about $5.7 million. And overall, our increase to our member town assessments is a 2.44% increase from the prior year. But as you know, we work on a 4-year rolling average, particularly for our operating budget. So what that means for Acton is that your assessment just shy of $3.3 million is a 5.63% decrease from FY26. And the next slide just shows a breakout in particular of the components that make up the preliminary assessment, our minimum required contribution, the transportation, and that subtotal there for the operating, just shy of 2.7 million. The building project debt, 631,739, which again brings you right around that 3.3 million. Some of our budget priorities that were driving this FY27 budget included our staffing. So we were able to successfully negotiate the collective bargaining agreement for our teachers for 2027 through 2029. So what that means for this year, it would be a 3% increase plus the steps and levels of the teachers. And, you know, the great part of vocational education is really that hands-on learning. So we really do each year kind of take a look at supplies and materials, in particular with tariffs going on, and the increase in, you know, say metal or welding. We always look to make sure that that supports the needs of the classroom, so the students can continue with that hands-on learning. But by far the biggest non-salary budget driver is insurance, health insurance in particular, which kind of hearing across all towns, across the state, certainly double-digit increases. We are part of Mass Bay Community Healthcare Trust, so over the past 4 years, the trust has been doing really well, but this is one of the first years that we'll be seeing a double-digit increase for our health insurance. We'll talk about capital stabilization in an upcoming slide, but just a continued reminder that our debt service for our athletic fields is being offset with the facility rental revolving account. So our capital stabilization, we are requesting or recommending a $100,000 increase or a 10% increase. We've worked in conjunction with our capital planning committee to slowly increase this until we get to the maximum contribution each year. You know, our plan is alongside our 20-year kind of building report of on-site insight is particularly what it's called, but we got an assessment of the building and the expectation of the lives of certain things. So our plan is to continue to build that up each year. So when we reach a year where we have higher expected needs for the building, we'd be able to draw on the capital stabilization fund versus coming back to the member towns and asking for additional funding. And what's really great for our other capital needs is we were actually part of the MSBA pilot program. It's a recommissioning program, so they've actually visited Minuteman, and we're expecting a report at the end of the spring, but they're looking at HVAC, electrical, plumbing, our building envelope, and our building management system, and making some recommendations based on the building and what they're seeing. So we're pausing any of the capital needs until we get that report and can look at that for future needs. OPEB is always a hot topic. I know it's usually asked at Acton, so wanted to include this slide. As you know, we put together an advisory group back in 2021. At this point, there was a big increase last year when we dropped off the ESCO lease. This year, we've just recommended a 5% increase to our contribution. And what that looks like as far as the trust fund balance, just a little over 3.1 million, whereas our total liability had decreased from the last valuation. So we are about 18% funded at this point. And as you know, the enrollment is, you know, very tied to our 4-year rolling average in creating that budget. So we wanted to share the overall enrollment of Minuteman right now, 657 students, which is that blue line, made up a majority of our member towns, which is the red line, 615 students. And we have 42 non-member students. And those students do pay a tuition and a capital fee to attend Minuteman. But more in particular for Acton, the breakout, we have included, you know, each of the classes. So we have freshmen, we have 14 students, sophomores 17, juniors 22, and seniors 18. So Acton actually had 24 graduates from the class of 2025, and so with the 14 incoming in the class of the freshman class, that had somewhat decreased your 4-year rolling average. And then just an update as far as what we're looking at for next year is that Minuteman had 30 applicants from Acton. All 30 were sent acceptance letters. As of now, we have 23 that accepted, 6 declined, and we're still waiting to hear back from 1. So I will anticipate next year, if those students that accepted do attend Minuteman, that your 4-year rolling average would increase a little bit for next year. So overall, as you know, the four-year rolling average is strongly correlated with the preliminary assessments. Right now for Acton, as we noted, you have a 5.63% decrease in your preliminary assessment and a negative 2.1% decrease in the four-year rolling average. And then just a little more detail about Acton in the historical assessments and the historical four-year rolling average. So it is really great to see that, you know, from 2022 to now, you've almost doubled your four-year rolling average, so. And then, just to wrap up the budget presentation here, I just compare numbers side to side. Some people like to see that. So again, just summarizing the 2.99% increase. Our non-assessment revenue, on the next page, we did take the state numbers directly from the governor's budget. You know, one thing that's a little bit different this year is we established or are utilizing a regional transportation revolving account. So we did actually receive more than what we estimated last year for Chapter 71 transportation. So we are required to give that back in the next budget year. So that is why, in particular, when you look at the components, the transportation assessment has decreased, is because we were able to offset that about $200,000. The other offsets include our E&D contribution of about $650,000, and then the capital fee, the tuition, and the facility rental revolving account, as I mentioned, offsets that athletic field debt. And then just the assessment components, again, kind of the bigger outlier here, that transportation budget did decrease because we were able to use that assessment, the transportation revolving account, to reduce that assessment. And so that's our kind of big picture summary of the FY27 budget, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for the presentation. That's great. It's good to see we have a healthy number of students applying, and I know it was tough this year to get applicants in. What was the percentage increase in the health insurance?
Oh, that's not determined yet. It looks like it will be a double digit. The trust
Range?
is meeting, it will be in the double digits.
10 to 99%?
I would say 10 to 20. We're waiting one more month for them to make their decisions on how that looks.
So we're part of the Mass Bay Community Healthcare Trust. We'll be setting our premiums in the next month's meeting. Overall, over the past 4 years, we were able to vote 2 0% increases, and then last year we voted a 5% and a 7% respective on each plan. So overall, over the past 4 years, the Healthcare Trust has been in a really great position. But this year in particular, with the increase in GLP-1s, just you know, kind of across the board, there's been a lot of higher claims. So this has been one where we've been trying to wait until the last minute to get the most amount of information that we can as far as claims before we make that decision and vote that premium.
Thank you.
You indicated that you may get more students in the coming year. What is the typical drop-off between acceptance letters sent out and students actually turning up?
So last year, we accepted over the course of the acceptance date until August, approaching 290 students. It's so funny you asked that. I was on the phone with our admissions director right before this talking about that, and we ended up with 178. So we send out our first batch now, which is out, but plans change and things change. We continue accepting students from our member districts, and over the past 2 years, and I anticipate this year also, we've accepted every Acton student who has applied.
I do work with Rutgers University. They have the same challenge, so you're not alone.
Nikki, how big is this Mass Bay Health Insurance Trust?
sorry. There's four.
I'm sorry, did I catch you eating?
There's 4 regional schools that are part of the trust.
Any idea how many employees are involved?
I would estimate to say about 1,000.
Okay. Our health insurance died an unnatural death a couple of years ago. We had about 1,000 people, and we had a few very good years, 0 increases, and then all of a sudden, large claims wiped it out. So be cautious.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry, I walked in the middle of your presentation. I also had a question about the enrollment. Do you have an idea, because it looks like it's trending down a little bit in the last couple of years? Of course, I can't find the graph, here it is. So it peaked at 692, now it's at 657, or it was last year. Do you think that's an ongoing trend? Do you have an idea of what you're going to have next year?
So we really, because we're application-based, we can't predict in the same way a K-12 district predicts, but I can tell you that the number of students, school-aged children, decreases over the next several years.
Yes,
So
yeah.
in theory, as you know, in Acton, there are fewer children,
Yep.
school-aged children. We would then likely have fewer applicants, but we should have expected that this year, and we actually had more applicants.
Okay.
So we can't predict that. We offer this type of education to anyone who wants it.
So, and it says, so this chart says 2025, you had 657. Do you have the 2026 number?
This year should be on that chart. I think we are at, oh, that's what we reported out. No, we don't have a final 2026 number because the year is not over. So we have
Okay,
students
you do get
leaving
there.
and coming. So we don't report that to the state until the end of the year. But we are just about, I think we are actually at 657, around that currently. Is that right?
Graduate this class. It'll bump up. The senior class is 154 students that's graduating, so if we were to take around the classes of what we've been taking the past
That's
2
okay.
years, it would project to bump up.
Okay, thanks. And so then extrapolating one more year to next year, based on, so you said that you've had like 23 out of 30 Acton applicants have already accepted for next year?
Yes, and we're waiting on one,
Do you
which
have the
is
total? Like, again, I'm just kind of looking at the total. I'm just curious about the trends. Like, do you have an idea?
Total
what the
applicants?
So the total that have accepted for next year?
yes.
So,
I'm not sure if we brought the whole district. Let me flip
Yeah,
back
I have
to
it.
that.
We had 220 that were sent acceptances, 178 accepted, 32 declined, and 10 were undecided. And we did just get an update today.
Literally tonight.
That I think the undecided is down to 1 or 2 now. But that gives you a scope of
so
where we were at.
178 you said accepted?
178 as of
So
March
that's going to
11th.
push up enrollment, which is good.
Yeah,
Well, so it may and may not. We are not going to stay at 178. We will still accept more students because at this time of
But at a
the
minimum,
year,
yeah.
we couldn't risk that. So if we stopped at 178, we would not have 178 in September. So we
Okay.
typically
Yeah, no, I
accept
understand.
around 220 and keep doing that until, we also have out-of-district students who apply, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have seats open that are not filled by member districts, we're required to fill those seats.
And what's your max?
Right now, it's 175, but we push it.
Okay, for the whole building? Like, what's the max enrollment for the whole building? Is it 692? I mean, like I said, 692 is the peak, what it was in 2022. I'm like, what's
So,
your capacity for your whole building?
so physically, depending on schedule changes or things like that, that's a fluctuating number. We can't say this is a drop-dead number
Okay.
because of our schedule, but we have a committee. It's called the Enrollment Membership and Access Committee that Pam, are you the chair of that, Pam?
Yes, I chair that.
Pam, we actually met tonight as well. We have to regularly study our trends for vocational program enrollment, for the amount of applications. And this year, because of the new rules and regulations with the lottery, it's uncharted territory,
Okay.
which looks very different.
Okay, thank you. And I had one other question unrelated to enrollment. Do you know what your capital stabilization fund balance is right now?
It's projected to be just about, I think, 5.2 million.
Okay.
It's included in our budget book. I can
Okay,
pull up
thank
the
you.
exact number, yeah.
Thanks.
The building project debt assessment, is that the building?
Yes.
Okay. Why did that decrease this year?
Just based on the amortization schedules.
Thank you.
I just have one. Well, how many declined for the, you accept 220 applicants, 178 accepted, how many declined? Yeah, I thought it was like 38. but
32.
32, thank you.
I would like to say, though, again, we are literally in the middle of the admissions cycle.
Yeah, I know.
So if we have somebody who applies from Acton today, they are accepted, we go through the process. It
And-
is a fluctuating process.
And AI will not take out plumbing and electrical and a lot of the jobs that the kids are learning there.
I'm sorry.
AI won't be replacing
Oh,
plumbers
no.
or electricians.
No, no,
or
no, no.
Mechanics and a bunch of other
No.
disciplines that your students go through.
That is
so.
true. We focus on humans.
Evening. Thanks for being here and sharing all the good information. Can you remind us when the building was completed?
I would love to remind you, I was not here, but our building opened in the fall of 2019 and
Okay.
promptly shut down on March 13th, 2020.
I remember it being around that time, just wanted a
Yes.
clarification. And so follow-up question with that, with regards to the capital needs planning, do you have any preliminary information that has been shared with you guys with regards to potential capital needs?
Yes.
Considering the building's 6 years old?
Yes, so we have a wonderful capital planning subcommittee of the school committee. Last year, we worked with a company to do a 20-year projection of the expected life of all of the systems in our building. The company's called Onsite Insight, they were wonderful. And it sure is expensive to actually maintain a building for a 60-year life, but they projected 20 years. What we have found is their projections that align with typical life expectancy of, let's say, a boiler or an elevator, does not match the reality of a building that was not used to capacity when it opened for a year and a half. So we are now comparing what is the reality of things that we have to maintain
Sure.
versus what the projection is. So when we report out to our capital planning committee, we say this was the year that this was anticipated, this is what actually happened. And I don't even know exactly how we got selected. Thank you for whoever put that slide up, that was great. We are a part of the MSBA recommissioning, which is a pilot program through the MSBA where they come to check, is everything working as everyone promised things would work when they came and built our building. So they visit much more than once. They are visiting, we're reporting to them, and they are going to give us a reality report that we will be able to that our capital planning committee will be able to compare with this 20-year projection. And that's a part of why we want to make sure our capital stabilization fund is healthy, because we don't want to come back while you're still paying for the building that we opened in 2019.
And what was the on-site insight?
Onsite Insight, yes. And Dover used them. I think Dover was who recommended, right? Lots of districts have used them. They've been wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the clarification.
Ron, you had a follow-up question? He said he's good. Alex actually touched on a question I was going to ask, and you answered it before I could ask the question, so well done. Well played on your part. So I think really my question is, Is it a correct statement that you made a presentation to, I think John had mentioned in one of our meetings that we saw a presentation from you folks previously this year? Is that a correct statement, or am I misthinking about that?
A finance committee meeting?
No, not finance committee. I thought that, was there a presentation by Minuteman to the town?
We invited town managers into the school not that long ago, right?
We did do that.
Okay, so, is there any material difference in this presentation today than the one that was presented previously?
When we present to the town managers, it was early in January. We didn't have the final governor's budget. So
Okay,
there were
yeah,
slight
so-
modifications, but as far as what we're presenting as total budget, that didn't change. We actually increased both the state aid based on the governor's budget that came out at the end of
right.
January.
Thank you for that. I really don't have any questions. As I said, some of the questions asked here were questions I was thinking of. I'm not as experienced with Minuteman as some of the people on this committee, so. Oh, he's found another one.
Well, I do this to Ellie every time she gives her quarterly update, so I might as well ask it to you guys as well. Any financial curveballs or red flags that have come up that you would want to touch upon that might not have necessarily been in this presentation?
Well, I've been at Minuteman for a year and a half now. I would say the biggest surprise is that a building that was not used to full capacity does have issues. And you will hear this from other town managers who open buildings around that time. However, I feel like the Capital Planning Committee and the School Committee and Nikki and I have set up a structure to make sure we're taking care of those needs.
Great, thank you.
Just one more. Go ahead, Greg.
Only because we ask this of everybody, what are your key performance indicators?
Right now, we are looking at our vocational certifications. We report those out to the state every year. We are looking to increase certifications so that students are more employable upon graduation. We also, of course, look at our school report card and our accountability data from the state, which is academics, growth or achievement, growth, and other indicators like graduation rate. We stick with the state indicators.
Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming in and sharing the presentation with us and giving us this opportunity to ask some questions. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks.
Our pleasure.
I have a moment for public comment, but I want to let our school committee representative just give us a quick update before I hold the budget hearing. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Nice to see all of you. I just wanted to give some quick updates and response to questions asked in the last meeting I was in. This is a long one. All right, so last week on Thursday, March 19th, the school committee was presented with Scenario 7 by Nick Stellitano from Dillinger Rad. That's the nonprofit consulting agency that the district is working with. From the beginning, Nick has been diligently collecting feedback from both the committee and community members. Each iteration has encapsulated added perspective, input, and priorities. There have been surveys, emails, individual phone calls between Nick and community members, and a map that community members could directly interact with in order to provide more detailed input. So the most recent scenario that was presented to the school committee was a result, it was mindful of a request to look for geographic areas that could be zoned to Blanchard but did not fall within a walk zone to either Parker Damon or the Boardwalk campus. Some of the priorities voiced by the members of the committee included the aforementioned walk zones. That's been a big one. And keeping zones contiguous. There were some satellite options presented, avoiding having too many or too much of a high-growth area in one zone. So as Nick is drawing areas, he's making sure to avoid not having the areas that he's shown for higher growth to be in too many of that or too much of that into one zone. So making sure that that's evenly spread out. And keeping neighborhoods together, thanks to the interactive map and input via emails. The community members have helped with that. Balancing demographics has been something that the school committee has voiced that's been incredibly important. Not only does this result in improved student experiences, but it also results in even distribution of student learning profiles throughout each of the buildings. And by having an even distribution of student profiles from one building to the other, having that more consistent, that allows for better balancing of the classrooms. This improves teacher experiences, and it also helps with allocation of staff. So there's a more even distribution of staff across the buildings, and that can result in not having to hire more staff if that's more evenly balanced. And the balancing class sections across each of the buildings was another thing that was being looked at, and making sure that class sizes are comparable as a result of that. So making sure that one building doesn't have, over the recommended amount of class sections. And keeping in mind those class sizes. So on April 9th, the school committee will vote for the final geographic scenario for enrollment policy, along with any transitional or supporting policies. That's all very much still being discussed. Nothing has been voted on or finalized yet. That will happen on April 9th. Afterwards, there was a vote on the school budget, and that passed unanimously. There has been a tremendous amount of work and communication occurring in regards to the budget. There were those 5-year projections provided at the fall ALG meeting, the wonderful tri-board meeting that we had back in October where budget was discussed. February 9th was Budget Monday. It's been fortunate that there's been multiple discussions and questions about the budget and expenses in those monthly budget and capital subcommittee meetings. So it's really great to see you in those, Scott, and we've also had select board members attending those subcommittee meetings as well. And also, in addition to that, it was actually discussed in the recent budget subcommittee meeting that it's been roughly estimated, and this is what our Superintendent Peter Light provided in some projections I screenshot, and that was shared in the recent subcommittee meeting for budget, that it is estimated that there will be about $16 million in savings over the next 10 years as a result of reorganization. So it was known that the reorganization would have long-term benefits, and thanks to that, that has been an estimation that we have, and that is something that will be shared publicly later, but it was in that subcommittee meeting, which is open to the public. People can attend. We had plenty of people attending, and that will be published later. Also, just wanting to mention that the selected plan for reorganization was, the goal of that was to think about that flexibility during uncertainty because of lack of state funding that we would like to see. The geographic distribution of students, just wanting to mention that will help ensure balanced demographics and experiences for students regardless of which building they are attending. And I am excited to see AB excellence in all of the buildings for next year, continuing. And for any future questions, I'd like to have those directed to Mr. Peter Light, and if you could please CC me just to keep me in the loop. And I'm sorry, that was a lot. I also have answers to some questions that were posed from before, but I'm happy to take a breath.
I'm not sure if I have to start the budget hearing exactly at 7:35. I feel like I have to, and I have a minute before that. It's 7:34. I know you can kill a minute, Greg. I don't think anybody here would question that. So What I'd like to do is, I'd like to just take a pause.
Yes.
And thank you for that summary. And then, after the budget hearing, which is, I'm been told doesn't take too long, but I need to start it on time, we can come back and revisit. So if you want to hang out there, if you want, and so let me, it's 7:35, so I have to start the budget hearing.
I am here for all the fun. I will be here and happy to finish giving the answers to those questions before, so I'll be there.
All right. So the Acton Finance Committee is holding a budget hearing to this, for the 2027 budget, and it's, I'm opening the hearing. Anything else? Now I read the budget? I can sit here and read every single number.
You read the highlights.
Yeah, highlights, all right. All right. I'm going to speak in millions because that will be easier. So being discussed is the budget for 2027 has revenues of, total tax revenue of 121 million. That's rounded up. All the revenue sources are 9 million, so that gets to approximately 130, looks like, adding the two together. Expenditures for the town, for municipal spending is just shy of 44 million at 43.9. School assessment is 82.8, so just under 83 million, and the Minuteman assessment is 3.2 million for total spending, which is equal to total intake of revenue at 130 million. That is the summary of the 2027 financials.
I think you're going to have to say the full, at least the full number for the bottom line.
The full number for the bottom line.
Like read out all the digits.
Well, I have to go reference a piece of paper that has it. The full bottom line number is $130,028,314. Is that sufficient? I'm using the one that foots to zero.
Okay.
So I'm using the most current information. And it's actually on the screen. Anything else I have to do? Is there any questions from the public on the 2027 budget? All right, so I'm going to close the budget hearing for the 2027 budget, and then I'm going to let school committee resume their little presentation discussion that we were just having. Thank you. All right. All right, so could you just go back to your thought where you're saying that if there were any questions directed to you, or any questions you wanted them emailed to Peter Light, CC'd you, and then you started something, and then I kind of mentally shut you down.
Oh, no worries. Yes, so there were some questions the last time asking about reimbursement for circuit breaker and the percent determination and if we're responsible for a certain percentage and does the state pay for anything that exceeds that amount? Those were some of the questions. So Sherry Matthews, the Director of Finance, was fantastic, answered these questions, and I have those answers from Sherry. I can't take credit for any of this. This is just copy and paste. Thank you, Sherry. For the circuit breaker reimbursement, it all depends on the submission, which happens at the end of May. The reimbursement is always a year behind. We are getting funding in FY26 for the submission in FY25. So each year, there is a reimbursement threshold for FY26. That amount is $53,431. This means that we can only receive reimbursement for our out-of-district cost over $53,431. Then the state comes up with a reimbursement amount of tuition. The maximum is 75%. Each year, we have to wait to hear what their reimbursement rate is going to be. So it sounds like it's not always the same every single year. And so there was an example provided of what that means, but recently over the past, and I can email this, of course, recently over the past couple of years, they've included transportation costs. Last year, these costs were reimbursed at 61.36%.
So I think what I would say here is for our school committee liaisons and finance committee, and I have one open comment, thought, question, I don't know how we would describe it, that maybe we could just, if there was any questions or anything, well, not questions, but if there's anything that you did not cover that our school committee liaisons felt like we should just mention at this point in time, that they should bring it to surface. The only thing that I would say is that the school budget meeting, there was discussing of capital planning, and I'm not sure, the capital planning that was discussed in the meeting, I'm not sure if that's, if that's still in discussions, because I kind of came in halfway through the meeting, or if that's something that is now something going to be official, being proposed or not. So I don't know if that's something, a question to go back to that committee or, okay.
Yeah, I can kick it back because I'll have to see if that was included when we did our vote for the rooftops. But, yeah, I think that it was, but I'm not sure, and I will double check.
Yeah, so maybe at our next meeting, we can get an update on that. Christy or Greg, do you have anything that was not covered here that you feel should be mentioned?
The one thing which caught my attention late in the meeting Thursday night is not a vote, but the beginning of a discussion, and that's between the town and the schools about the use of the Conant building. And I know it's just in the the early discussion stage, but I thought that's something that,
That's to use the Conant building for when town hall is being renovated. So we'd sort of like sublet it just for that period of time.
bingo. So it's not a done deal, hasn't happened. It was the beginning of a conversation, but that was the one thing that I thought was probably worth mentioning tonight.
Unless there's anything else, we're going to move on to the exciting topic of warrant articles. You're welcome to sit there for the whole evening.
I'm here for all the fun.
Or
Thank you so
silently
much
sneak
for your
out.
time. It was a pleasure to be with all of you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
This isn't a question for Lisa, but, so we're talking about potentially the town renting Conant? Okay, so the regionalization agreement says that when they're not using the building anymore, when they're done with the building, they shall sell it back to the town for $1. But by delaying that, now they're in the position of us giving them more money to lease it back from them. That seems a little like we're supplementing their budget by doing that. The building is supposed to revert back to the town of Acton.
We've got a really long night ahead of us.
just
And
saying.
I hear you. This is not immediately applicable to the business we need to get done tonight.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yes, I would like to request that we table that.
On to warrant articles. John, if I can call you up to maybe cover any articles that you have not previously covered, and then when you're done with your summary, we should vote on as many or make decisions on as many as we can. Thank you, John. If you want to.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Thanks for going through the warrant. I sent it to you, sorry, I know people are probably on their way here, but I sent it out to you all in its latest form. There are 40 articles. There are currently 3 of those are blank placeholders, so it's really only 37 articles. I at this point. The deadline for citizen petitions has passed, so that is not something that we're going to need to review. So I delivered a draft of the warrant to the Finance Committee a few meetings in a row. The only difference between the warrant that was sent to you tonight and the one you saw most recently is that it includes some recommendations from the Select Board. I believe the Select Board has recommended all of the articles that they've reviewed so far, and the only ones they haven't done are the zoning ones, and then maybe one other one. So, and I also added 3 zoning articles that the Planning Board passed forward to the warrant. They're still having a public hearing open for 1 zoning article, so there could be potentially a 4th zoning article, but there's 3 that are in this packet for you to start thinking about tonight. I know a member of your Finance Committee was at the public hearing, so she's probably up to speed on those, and I think you have another meeting next week, right? Or soon?
Very soon, yes.
Yeah.
Allison sent me a write-up of that summary, and she said, just what you said, that there was 1 pending, I guess on another meeting or another decision that might be or may not be included. So, so she's consistent with what you just referenced.
So I think, it's, I think for the process that we always follow is that the Finance Committee has this public hearing, which it sounds like you already had it. Maybe you can reopen it if you need to, but, and then you start taking positions on articles. So I'm here tonight to present articles again or answer any questions you have about any particulars, and we can start right at the top and work our way down. You can, a member of the committee could say that they wanted to take a group of them at once and recommend the committee a position, like we recommend, X, Y, Z, all of them, or we can start from the top. The first is a pretty standard one, just choosing town officers. The second one is receiving town reports. That's not usually too controversial. 3, we don't need to do at this point, so you wouldn't take a position on that.
John, the zoning ones are, it's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Are those?
Yeah, there are 3, hold on, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5, there's actually 5 zoning articles.
Those are the only ones I think that we would not want to address this evening.
Okay.
Everything else is fair game. I just want to make sure I have the numbers correct in the range.
Yeah, so it's 17 through 21.
17 to 21. So I would.
21, I wasn't even considering a zoning article because it's so minor, but it's technically a zoning article, so I should have mentioned that.
Hey, gentlemen, you said a moment ago, can wholesale go through a batch of these, 29 through 39 were the year-to-year, and I looked through them all, and the only one that I had the question about was just adding more information, if I recall, to the spousal benefits one. And I recommend, all of them.
Second.
All right. So we just take a vote?
I mean, is it going out of order okay?
No, I'm totally fine going out of order.
Okay.
They're all consent calendar.
Yeah.
We can discuss any one of them if you want to hold one, but.
Yeah, all right, so the first thing I say is right, is any discussion on this before we vote? All right, so all in favor of approving Articles
29 through 39.
29 through,
I don't have 40 on my,
29 through 40.
well, I don't have 40 on my list.
40 is municipal administrative hearing process.
yes, 29 through 40,
Okay.
as listed in the warrant. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, so we are unanimous in approving Articles 29 through 40. I think, can someone make a motion on the ones that John referenced that are just they're in this warrant article every year, like choosing Someone make a
I
motion.
I move we recommend Articles 1 and 2, choosing town officers and receiving and accepting reports.
Second.
I just wanted to ask about that first. Are there expected to be budget transfers?
No, I mean, we're 4.5 weeks out, nothing's on the radar now, so
Okay.
hopefully not.
And Article 3?
Second.
Discussion? No. All in favor of Articles 1, 2, and 3 as listed in the warrant, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are unanimous in approving Articles 1, 2, and 3.
For the sake of the records, this is the draft for 3/23/26.
Should I say that every single time?
I don't think so.
Okay, you said it, so thank you. All right. Before we vote on it, is there any articles that are here that we have a question for the town manager on that remain from anyone on the committee?
Fred has one.
All right.
All right, I am 22 and 23, so the revolving funds. I was just curious, the building inspector, what, that balance is probably the largest and it grew the most. I was curious what's happening with that fund.
Well, the proposal to town meeting is to fund inspectional services and related costs out of that fund. It really fluctuates depending on activity. It's actually been a pretty slow quarter compared to, so you never really know. It was a pretty busy last year. We expect a lot of activity this summer. So what we have in here is what we know we'll need to run the department next year. If we generate more revenue than that, it's great. I don't know if Ellie has anything further to add to that.
I will just add something that we've talked about during the quarterly budget presentations. The cash balance that's reflected is as of the close of fiscal 2025. In 2026, we added on the fire prevention officer, which is being funded out of this account. And then in 2027, we're moving an additional administrative position into this budget as a means to kind of address that fund balance that you mentioned.
Yep, thank you. Next question. So on the commuter lot, I'm curious, so again, it looks like the funds are growing again, and are there ways to use these funds to improve the area, the computer lot, the experience, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. We have an annual budget for maintenance and improvements that the Department of Public Works uses to do things on the lot. There is for a few years, we stopped using some funding from this as a subsidy to transportation because the parking lot revenue has come back. We're able to restore that, which is an important way to connect residents to the train without actually using up parking spaces. So it's kind of it's a creative way to use that funding to support the program. Ellie, is there anything else we could add to that question? No? Yeah, and we think it'll continue to grow. Things like it's trending in that direction.
Yeah, okay. Well.
Having previously chaired the train station committee too, this fund builds up until we need to repave the parking lots, which is quite expensive. So it accumulates hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then blacktop is expensive.
Do we have a schedule now of when it's going to be repaved again?
That I don't know. I'd have to ask the DPW.
I don't know the condition of it by not, because I don't use it very often.
I don't know the answer. I'm just saying from my experience on chairing the train station committee, this built up a lot. And I also don't know, Ellie might know if this reflects all the snow removal for this year.
The balances that are in there are as of the close of the previous fiscal year, so it wouldn't include anything that's been spent this year.
One other question, David. The small lot that's, so you have the main lot, and then you go over the other side of the train tracks, used to be the Forms Company, that's now the food pantry. Yeah, the small lot to the left, if you're looking across. Does this fund also cover that lot as well?
Yes, those parking spaces are charged for in a different way.
Yeah, that's what
But
I
yes,
thought.
and we've occasionally done experiments and continue to do experiments. You know, the town manager and others have worked on that to increase the number of spaces used in that lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, that makes sense, David. Thank you for the blacktop insight there. So, Scott, after, reviewing these and getting these questions, nothing looks out of line.
I would recommend a
recommend.
motion then on these two articles to the committee. Yes. Could you just,
Yeah, well, I recommend approving 22 and Article 23. 22 is the revolving funds article, and 23 is the train station commuter lot maintenance article. Or sorry, recommending, yes.
discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee approves recommends Article 22 and 23. All right. Just a question for my committee here, to make sure I'm doing this correctly. When we get to some articles that have more text involved, or like some more commentary involved, when we write our opinions for the book, we put in our commentary on each one, then even though we vote, it's not just voting, right? We're writing in comments.
We don't write anything that goes in the warrant apart from our message, if that's what you're asking. We can speak to any of the articles. Yeah. That's when we give our opinion. It can be more substantive than simply we recommend.
Okay.
So each, as Chris just said, each article is either recommended, not recommended, or what's the other one I'm looking for? Deferred. Thank you, Steve. So that's basically what gets commented on, and then our message that's in the town warrant.
There's also no recommendation where we take no position on something.
All right, so, all right. Why don't we go down the row here, and Steve, why don't we start with you? Anything that you are working on, once you advise, recommend, and then we can vote.
Okay, I have the all-important septage enterprise fund and the sewer enterprise fund. The septage spending is going up by 8.6%. It is principally found in the salary line. It is, I believe, just a reallocation of the total salaries of the Health and Human Service Department, which only went up by 0.17 of an FTE. So I think it's a bookkeeping thing. So I would recommend Article
24.
24. I move we recommend Article 24.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of recommending?
Recommending.
Article 24, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee recommends Article 24. Steve, do you have any other articles that you'd like to?
I have the Sewer Enterprise Fund. I get a reputation for having sewers and things like that in this town. In any event, it went up by 6.7%. The entire amount pretty much is in the contractual services, which is the cost of having somebody run the plant for us. And the reason it's going up there is because the system is expanding in Powder Mill, and they are projecting much higher volumes, conservatively projecting higher volumes in next year. So again, I would move that we recommend Article 26.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of recommending Article 26?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee recommends Article 26. Are you all set, Steve? That's your whole list?
That's all I have at the moment.
All right. Greg, you are on the clock.
I have 3 items, one of which is Article 9, the Minuteman Regional School District Assessment, which we heard their presentation tonight. I had a chance to review the presentation this afternoon, went through it. I think they answered our questions well. We want to continue to watch this going forward, but for fiscal year 27, we recommend. I move we recommend. I guess I can't recommend that we move that we recommend, whatever. Yeah, I move that we recommend Article 9.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of recommending Article 9, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee recommends Article 9. Greg, do you have any other articles to wish?
I have 2 others, one of which is Article 12, which is the appropriation to stabilization and trust funds. This is one that the town manager presented some options to us several months ago, asked for feedback, tweaked it, and the new version, I think, reflects our input. It seems like a reasonable ask, provides more flexibility, but still meets our overall objectives for OPEB and other things. So I move we recommend.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of recommending Article 12? Is that
Article
right?
12.
Article 12, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee recommends Article 12. And what's your last one, Greg?
The last one is sandwiched in between Steve's. It's Article 25. It's to approve transfer station and recycling enterprise budget. I move we recommend.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor of recommending Article 25?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Finance Committee recommends Article 25.
That's all I got.
All right. Roland, I think you had CPC. I think we should push that to the next meeting.
So CPC is going to be, I advise them to come to our next meeting, not to this one, after they're still working through their budget and through their process. They do a very good job every year going through that. There's a lot of deliberation. Does it, first, does it meet the law for what's being requested, et cetera? So they have a lot of work that they do on their article every year. So it'd be good to hear from them. I do have Article 11, which is the establish of an opioid settlement stabilization fund, which is a law that was passed by the governor. So Sackler was one of them, was one of the pharmaceutical companies that, OxyContin and those things that were highly addictive, caused a lot of issues in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and throughout the country. People are getting hooked on these things, and there is a settlement where the company went out of, I think it was Purdue Pharma, that went out of business and whatever. But we did get money for that, of which that we just appropriated we recommended 157,439 on Article 12, item D of the opioid settlement stabilization fund. So we didn't recommend the stabilization fund yet to be established. So I recommend that we recommend this article.
Second.
And the other thing to keep in mind with the stabilization fund is that in order to get money out of it, they have to go to town meeting, and it's a 2/3 override in order to take money out of the stabilization fund. So, it's something we have a lot of control over.
I heard a second, is that correct?
I heard a recommend to recommend.
A motion to recommend Article 11 to establish an opioid settlement stabilization fund.
Second. Great.
John?
It's good momentum. I just wanted to clarify something, just because it's kind of important. I think in this case, the opioid stabilization funds would be able to be expended, would be able to be used without further appropriation. So it doesn't behave the same way as stabilization funds that we're otherwise used to.
Yeah.
In this particular case, because of this particular special act or act of the legislature, it's different in that once it's created and appropriated, it can be spent for those purposes outlined only without further appropriation. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear before you voted.
Great, thank you, John.
Are you going to change your motion, or?
No, I'm still recommending it. I mean, I could read what it can be used for if anybody wants to hear it. It is outlined in the article.
Does anybody desire Roland reading from the warrant article?
Thank God.
All right, I believe that was seconded, so I will take, all in favor of Finance Committee recommending Article 11, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Do you have any more, Roland?
CPC, but they're not here, so that will be at the next meeting.
I believe I have Article 4 and Article 7. And since no one else is jumping up and down saying that they have them, Article 4 is the appropriation for the municipal operating budget. I would recommend this article. We have sat through several information sessions on the budget, and we've asked many questions. I feel like that we have our understanding of how the money's spent, and that with a level services directive from the town and the select board's guidance to the town manager on growth in the operating budget, that everything has been met to what was asked for. So I would recommend Article 4.
Mr. Chairman, can we put the exact amount in there? Meaning, yeah, we move to recommend $42,332,565.
Pull up the PDF that has the exact.
I said it.
You made a motion. Second.
Thank you.
Do we devote on that?
I read it off of the town manager's message in the warrant, so if it's wrong.
All right, that's been seconded. All in favor of the Finance Committee recommending Article 4, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Moving on to Article 7, the authorized borrowing and design of a new public works facility at 14 Forest Road. I don't think I had those.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just doing the ones that I signed up for. Sorry. I would recommend Article 7 on the basis that the building design that is being proposed to be worked on is a design that is a compromise, and it deals with the staffing issues and delays and does not focus on what I felt was one of the primary Finance Committee issues last year, which is the equipment storage. And personally, I'm not sure on the timing of the building, like when we would be able to afford to build this building. But the plan design is, to my understanding, is going to be timeless. So when we have the plan design, we will have it, and I think that it's a good compromise to solving a problem for the staff. So I would recommend Article 7.
Second.
Discussion?
Move to recommend.
Second.
Wait a second, wait.
I would move to recommend Article 7.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. No, go ahead.
This, if anyone has strong qualms now about this project as defined currently, this is the time to speak up, because this will be, for lack of better words, held against us. We will be held to this. The select board will say, you all approved these finance, or you all recommended, thank you, recommended this design. So if you've got real issues, now is the time to say it. Don't wait until we get the budget vote.
I do not have real issues, however, I've been down this road before. And a few years ago, we voted for design money, and thinking we had a $30 million project ahead of us. But when the numbers came in, the first pass was 45. No, it came down. So I guess I would like to ask the town manager if we have even a ballpark estimate of what this two-phase approach is going to cost.
Thank you for that question. I think any building design process, the numbers are refined as you move further along. So when we were at town meeting and we said 35 million, that was the best information we had at the time. And we weren't that far from that, ultimately, when we brought the proposal forward last year. The Arrow Street study that they did over the summer, they had said that option 4B, which is what we're doing, which is what we're recommending, they had said it would cost $29 million, all in. So, and as you know, we're only doing part of that. So we don't have an updated cost estimate, but we know it'll be less than that. And I think we met with the design team last week, and they committed to get us a design before town meeting, and maybe even sooner. Not a design, an updated number for just the phase one piece. So we know it'll be less than 29. I mean, I think I can say that confidently. If it's not, then I'm not sure.
Based on existing market conditions.
Is it likely to have it at our next meeting, or is it before town meeting?
We're hoping to have it by early April. So I think it's going to be something that will give us a better number for exactly the phase one that we're trying to do.
Any other discussion?
You have the options in front of you, John. I remember hearing that it was going to be about 10 to 15 to renovate the existing building. I know one of the options was just to renovate that, so I presume if you took that out of the 29, you'd be ballpark of what?
Yeah, I've learned not to do that, but you could do that. You could. That's.
So hopefully
yeah.
south of 20.
That would be my hope, but we're not going to know until they come back with the numbers and let us know what it looks like, because the scope of the work is reduced. So, and the duration of the project is reduced, so general conditions, all those things should be less, but we really can't put a number on until we get a better read from them.
I think David wants to say something.
He wants to give
I'm not sure, John, if you heard right. She said south of 20. I don't think it's south of 20. So what I have heard is about $3 million off of the 29.
Okay.
I'm not sure that we need to.
We'll find out.
To clarify that to that level, because we just don't know.
But I just don't want to leave the impression that it's south of 20, because I don't think that's the case.
Thank you. That's an important clarification.
I think, honestly, I don't believe any of the numbers. because I don't know, we don't know what it's going to be until we get there. But the reason why I'm recommending this is of the options that we have discussed basically in the last 2 years, this one meets the staffing needs, and I think is the best compromise that we could get to. And that's why I'm recommending it. And whatever the cost is, that's going to drive whether it's something that the town can afford or not afford. But I think from making the plan design, and that's why I'm recommending it. So, any other discussion on this?
Yeah, just, Ellie, are you getting all this flavor in the minutes? Okay.
If we're adding flavor. No. I too save old documents. One of the things that's worth noting is that the $29,725,545 estimate for option 4B, which included both the reno and the new building, was for a facility that was going to be 37,523 square feet, gross square feet. Now, I don't know what the pricing is. The steel tariffs could change tomorrow. Who knows? Weird stuff could still happen when it comes into the pricing. I do assume that the new construction probably costs more than the renovation does, so that the fact that we're talking about less square footage, the number that I've heard, and I just want to confirm it, is that the building that will be in Article 7, John, is how many square feet?
The proposed new building is approximately 18,000 square feet.
So
Floor area.
No, so
Yeah.
we're not doing 19,000 square feet or 20,000, we're doing 18,000. So one of the other things that I think, despite the fact that we can't control all the costs, and we won't know the numbers until early April, I, like the chair, believe this is the option that we suggested, 4B. There was no 4B, there was a 4. And it got split into 4A and B because we said, you got your priorities backwards. We want to take care of the employees. We can talk about the trucks later. They did that. Then there was a second round of 29 million. Boy, that doesn't seem like a great savings. And they came up with phase 1, phase 2, and phase 1 is what we're going to be looking at for the foreseeable year. And so I'm comfortable with where we're headed, and I'm going to support this article. I'm going to recommend supporting, I'm going to move. No, I didn't.
Wait a minute.
I can't move. Can I move it? No.
Hasn't it already been moved?
Yeah, I think it was.
And seconded?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless there's any other discussion, we'll put this to vote. All in favor of recommending Article 7, authorizing the borrowing design for the new public works facility, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I think at least one of our members that's not present would not be supportive.
Can't vote by proxy.
Can't vote by proxy. All right, so present members are unanimous. I think that was the end of the articles that I had, unless somebody else remembers that I did. Jason does. Jason does. We'll have to push that till next meeting. All right, Corinne.
I have Article 6, the borrowing for the HVAC, and the too long don't read version is that I will recommend that I'm not moving yet. So, I will recommend that we recommend. I haven't moved. I want it noted, it's like, will be part of the statement that this is only financially feasible because of the $1 million grant. The money coming from the Energy Efficiency Fund, the way I read it, and John provided it to me, it says that those funds can be used for energy efficiency, energy savings, or renewable energy. I don't think that limits those funds to being used only for renewable energy projects. And that this is not the last time that we're going to be asked to approve a project with renewable energy, and that we have to keep that in mind, that I feel like that the current, the climate emergency declaration, at least it handcuffs us. It handcuffs the town, and we're being told all the time that we can only do this, and it's taking options away from the taxpayer. So I would like to see that. I would like to see a future discussion about that. Not having an emergency declaration, not having these bylaws doesn't preclude us from using renewable energy sources when that makes sense. But the way things are right now, it feels like we're being handcuffed into it. I also feel like we were, you know, that they asked, when they asked Mom at town meeting to do this, Mom said no, and they went and asked Dad and got the $1 million grant. And I feel like we're being backed into a corner into supporting this. But nonetheless, the project needs to be get done. I do have questions, John, about the financing. You sent me some information, and it's just like financial stuff, because, so they're proposing a 25-year fixed principal loan. And I was just curious about and I'm not sure if it matters, I'm trying to think about it, about what portion of it would be coming from the operating budget versus the EEF, because at the beginning, it's mostly town, and at the end, it's mostly EEF. It's like the proportion switch, so I just didn't know what and I'm not sure if it matters. You know what I mean? I don't know if anybody knows what I'm thinking.
It matters to me for the budget planning because of debt service budget. For the last 5 years, we've been doing mostly level debt.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's easier to explain.
Yep.
But it actually doesn't give us the advantage of debt falling off. It stays the same till the very end.
Yeah.
Which is good for planning, but it's not good for adding projects in that you need to get done. So with this one, I believe it makes sense. And the final debt strategy will be determined when we're
Okay.
actually putting it on the street and all that stuff with our agent, or with our bond consultant. But the thinking is that if we can do a 25-year debt, have the heaviest payments be at the beginning, have the heaviest subsidy from the Energy Efficiency Fund be at the beginning, and ramp both of those down over 25 years, it gives us the opportunity to build capacity back into
Yeah.
the
I had a
budget.
car loan like that. My very first car loan was like that. I liked it.
Yeah.
I guess one other concern that I have is, and I asked you this question, was the anticipated life of the new system, and you said 25 years, because of course my concern is that we're taking on debt that would go beyond the life of that system, and you said 25 years, and I hope that's what it is, because our current systems are way less than 25 years, and we don't have any history with these types of systems, like to know that that's how long they really last.
Yeah, I mean, we in the 90s, we added components to an existing system. This is an overhaul. I mean, we're starting over in many ways, and 25 years is what we're planning to get out of it. Maybe we'll get more.
Okay, I hope you get at least 25 to read.
This cost includes a whole lot of renovations of infrastructure that I presume will last longer than 25 years, replacing the pipes, et cetera. So we're not just getting 25 years out of that section. It's maybe,
Okay.
Please clarify if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's kind of the under-described part of the project. We call it an HVAC project, but we're replacing the
Yeah.
generator. And a lot of the wiring that is in the building related to that generator. So all the stuff like that will last longer than 25 years, you would hope anyways. And then some of the other components, even if the endpoints need to be replaced, the interior piping and things should last longer than 25 years regardless.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I move that the Finance Committee recommend Article 6 to borrow $2.75 million to renovate the HVAC system in Town Hall.
Second.
I have discussion, sorry. John, I don't know, why can't, not why can't, if the town, could the town use CPC funds to do this project? Because this is a historic building. To help defer some of the costs of this project, using the CPC budget.
I mean, technically, preserving a historic building, I think would include making sure that it's heated and cooled. In terms of projects that the CPC and the community gets excited about, I wouldn't put this one on the list. I think we've already proposed a pretty substantial preservation project through the CPC on this building for the clock tower, which we're hoping the CPC is recommending tonight. So there are certainly parts of the work that are CPA eligible, but overall, since this was a facility system project, we thought it would be more appropriate to focus on this funding source and the pretty substantial energy efficiency money that we're getting, both from the state grant and the other thing. We're focusing our asks of CPC on other things. If you remember, we did the gutters, also not glamorous, but they were historic wooden gutters that we asked them for funding and they gave it to us. So I think we would focus on, if we ever needed to do the windows or things like that, which we don't right now, that we would come to them for that probably, but facility systems like this, they probably could technically support it, but I'd be surprised if there was a lot of support for it.
Thank you. This has been seconded. Do I have, all in favor of recommending, which one is this? Article 6. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee recommends Article 6. Corinne, do you have any other articles? Christie?
All right, my first article is the school budget. It was approved last week's school committee meeting. I'm a little concerned because there has been some understandable unhappiness with the decision to restructure the district, et cetera. From a purely financial standpoint, they have gone with the most fiscally responsible design of the district going forward. It gives them the option to provide the best education for our students within a flexible system for increasing or decreasing class sizes and classrooms based on student population changes over time. There is a move out there to get people to reject the school budget at town meeting, which would only serve to hurt the schools really hard until a new budget came around. It will not change this decision at all. This is a school committee decision that they have made. I don't know if Greg wants to speak to this idea more about, they'd go down to a 1/12 budget, and the school would only get a 1/12 of the previous year's budget to function on. It's pretty catastrophic at this point. So I know some of us have different opinions about how, about the decision that was reached around reestablishing the district, but this is not the way to voice that or express it from our views as Finance Committee members. This is just a gentle reminder, we have our Finance Committee caps on, right here. So I move that we recommend the Acton-Boxborough Regional School District Assessment, Article 8.
Second. Just a comment. I actually think they did not pick the most financially sound choice. The 5v1 would have been better. That's all I'm saying.
Do we have the exact amount of the assessment?
Yes.
It is $82,830,682
Okay, so I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to put the number into the.
Yes, I was
recommendation.
wondering,
Okay.
it's a friendly second? Should I withdraw the previous motion and make a new motion? Pardon? To fix the number. Okay, Steve says no. Okay.
So we have a motion that's been seconded, and it's been amended with the exact number. All in favor of the Finance Committee approving, which article is this? Article 8, as presented.
Aye.
Opposed? All opposed? Abstentions? I said aye as well, sorry. The Finance Committee unanimously recommends the school district assessment.
Mr. Chairman, just point of information, when we approve an article that large without a number in the warrant, if it should change, then we have at least the option to go back and take another look. If we approve it in blank, we don't.
Thank you, Steve. Chris, do you have any other?
Yes, I have Article 27, which is the ambulance enterprise budget. I have not had a chance to ask Tom before. I'm hoping he can answer why budgeted revenue is increasing so very little, but the operating expenses are increasing by 200,000.
Yeah, we're pretty conservative with that. Medicare processing makes it hard for us to capture as much revenue from ambulance billing as you would think we'd be able to. So we hope that we'll bring in more than that, but we try to be pretty conservative because of the challenges we have in that realm.
Okay, and the increase in expenses is, like I said, it's ballpark 150,000-ish. Is that more employees, something being moved into this, into being paid out of this budget, or?
I think it's, Ellie, can you help me with that one, please?
So it's a combination of things. I'd say half staffing, half other operating lines. You might remember that we settled some contract negotiations for labor, so we're seeing the full impact of this with the 2027 budget. There's also been increases to professional development for paramedic training, supplies, and then machinery and equipment.
Thank you. Okay, I move that we recommend Article 27, ambulance enterprise budget.
Second.
All in favor of recommending Article 27? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The Finance Committee recommends Article 27.
My next article is Article 28, the transportation enterprise budget. This is pretty much in line with what it was before. No surprises here, so I move that we recommend Article 28, transportation enterprise budget.
Second.
All in favor of recommending Article 28, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Finance Committee recommends Article 28. I think we took care of Alex's articles, right?
Right.
And Fred's.
Number, what about Article 5?
That is Jason.
Okay.
Jason and Allison we'll cover in our next meeting.
And then community preservation.
That'll be next meeting.
Yeah, they're meeting tonight.
And then all of the other ones are the articles of tax increment financing. Is that part of the zoning?
It's not ready yet.
Not really.
We're also holding the zoning articles.
Right, for Allison, yeah.
So next one will be a long meeting.
Probably, yeah. But at least we made some progress. All right. Do we have
Mr.
any
Chairman,
other questions for the town manager?
I do have one question. It may be moot since I think we may have approved it, but the Article 40 on this warrant, I don't believe was on our last warrant. It's except.
I think it was, because I got a good question about it from a Finance Committee member, so I remember it being on there.
Okay.
The question was, how does this apply to leaf blower enforcement? And I said, I'm not ready to talk about that. And I'm still not, but
Are you ready to talk about it now?
No, I'm not. I think that this is really just administrative. You have to accept these things that are in general laws or they don't apply to us. So that's all it is. It's not going to change necessarily anything that we would do otherwise, except that the one thing that we can't do right now is that if we have, let's say we have a business or a residence that's really not complying with the fire code, and they don't listen to us, they don't want to work with us, and we don't have the ability to fine them because we don't have a hearing officer to hear an appeal to that fine. And that's what was the driving force to bring this one forward. Not that we want to go running around issuing fines, but just having that in the toolbox for our fire department is something that we haven't had, partly because only this last year, we started a fire prevention office with a dedicated person who's all they're doing is focusing on fire prevention and that type of work. And he's doing a great job, and the department has benefited from it. And I'm not going to ask him to I don't want him to be writing fines, but I think to have that availability, if it's needed, is an important tool.
Thank you. I'm sorry, my last list that I've been working off, it ended on 39, but I do remember that conversation.
I think the only question I have, John, before you depart is, do we have an update on the Taylor Road property?
Yeah, so the board met again last week, and they ended up continuing the public hearing until their first April meeting, which is a week from Monday. And I expect that they'll make a decision that night, whether to either A, exercise their right and then buy the property, or B, say no, thank you. So I think we'll know a week from Monday.
Do we know if, how it would be financed if we were to purchase the property? How we would pay for it?
So that would, we've talked about a few different scenarios. I think one, if it's an open space parcel acquisition, which it seems like that's one of the options for it, it would be through the CPA funding that's set aside to the open space set aside. That needs to be approved by CPC, and they would discuss that once we ask them. I know that tonight they're meeting and trying to decide on recommendations, and one of the recommendations they're considering is how much to put in the open space set aside. So we'll probably know after tonight how much is in there, which will help inform the financing for that parcel if the town does move forward with it.
All right, I think that's it for my questions. Anybody else have any questions for town manager? All right, thank you, John, for
Thank you for all the
coming here.
support and putting all this work in. We got a lot of things accomplished tonight.
Yeah.
There's
It's not even 10 o'clock.
There's only 6 left, I think.
Yeah, there's
It's 6.
a handful left, but there's less in front of us than there is behind us. All right, let me just see what I'd like. The next thing I'd like to do is approve minutes. There was one edit that Christie had for the February minutes. Christie, mind sharing that again?
I was not on the list of attendees. Corinne was on there twice.
Oh, I did your talking for you.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other edits for the minutes that I have listed on the screen? And there are 6 shown. If not, Ellie?
Which February meeting were you missing on,
I
Christie?
think it's both.
Both?
February 24th?
I don't have that email on me.
I have it. I can go in my email and find it, Christie.
Thank you.
I believe it was the 24th.
Ellie, it's the one at which you did the quarterly report.
Does that help? All right. All right. All right. Okay. Could I get a motion with the, assuming that that edit is made on these minutes then, from anybody?
So moved.
Point of order, minutes can't see the screen, it is a what date?
I know that, I'm hoping that the person that makes the motion. will-
Motion to approve minutes from January 13th, 2026, January 20th, 2026, January 21st, 2026, January 27th, 2026, February 10th, 2026, and February 24th, 2026.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions. The Finance Committee approves the minutes from January 13th, 2021, 27, February 10th, and 24th. Thank you. All right. We've done the minutes. Greg, I was going to go to you. You had two things that we dangled a couple weeks ago. I'd like to wrap them up if we can.
Yeah, since it's too late to put this on the warrant, having a survey to find out if we want to put it on the warrant is moot. What I would suggest is after town meeting, as we look forward to the coming challenges of fiscal '28, I know, it's hard to think that far forward, we should think about the Finance Committee conducting a survey to get a feeling for, we're going to have to make a lot of really hard trade-offs. It would be helpful to understand priorities. And there are ways to ask the questions in a neutral way with a balanced sample that will help us understand that if we have to look at, heaven forbid, a teacher versus a firefighter versus a police officer versus fill in the blank, those are hard choices. And understanding that different people are going to answer those questions different ways may not make it any easier. But having watched the AB Forward process this past year, they were well-informed, and it made making a really impossible decision possible.
All right. Any other discussion on the survey? No. The other item, Greg, that you had mentioned previously was the voting for the KPIs. And I had a member of the community make a comment to me that actually made a lot of sense. The KPI discussion makes a lot of sense to us, but people listening, it's a lot of gobbledygook. Sorry to use a technical phrase. I think that if we were to do any type of voting or recommendations or any like awards on that, I think we need to find a way of providing some type of summary that is ingestible even if it's a document that we just share on the DocuShare site so that people can understand what we're talking about before we do voting and stuff like that. So I would recommend that we do that first before we proceed further.
The library KPI handout, it was very digestible. And if we are going to do something to show metrics for the other departments or do some sort of vote, rank, whatever, I would suggest that we put it in a format like that. Because I thought that was great.
Okay.
And not gobbledygook.
Yes.
I totally agree with the gobbledygook feedback and, taken, well made, well taken. One of the things that I would suggest is, although I had framed this as a KPI award, again, maybe I'm just starting to think about next year, a year in advance. One of the things that we may want to do is understand, particularly as we're going to be facing lots of trade-offs, the cost-benefit analysis, which may be more public-facing conversation than what does that KPI thing stand for. There are other ways to phrase what it is that we are doing when we analyze, and to the extent that we can come up with voter-facing terminology, we're gonna have a lot of explaining to do in the next year.
Before I get on to next meetings, I just want to state that it looks like I already have 2 interns for the summer. So we're going to be in the middle of a lot of meetings and discussion about a lot of things in the next couple of weeks. I'd just like everybody to just kind of think about ideas for projects for interns for the summer. The fact that I have 2 and we haven't really advertised it yet, I feel is kind of exciting. And we'll be more structured and organized this year because I won't be putting it together as we're doing it this year. So just keep that in mind. Also, a question for the committee, should I have the Acton TV meeting on April 7th start at 7 o'clock or start it at 7:30? 7?
7 due to the number of items we have to still review.
All right. So our next meeting, I will confirm with Acton TV, and I don't think it will be an issue. Will be at Acton TV at their physical location. Does anybody know the address off the top of their head?
16 Craig Road.
Can you say that? Say that again in the microphone?
16 Craig Road?
Yep.
Sounds right.
On April 7th at 7 PM.
So we'll be meeting at Acton Public TV.
Acton Public TV, yes. Because this room will be occupied. And as much as I'd like to stay here and pontificate about a lot of different things, I would like to hand this to Fred.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
was there an ALG meeting that you agreed to a final plan?
Not yet, no. Yeah, we did?
That's why I asked the question.
We did the final budget.
We did the, for the 27, yeah. But I thought for the forecast, we were doing one more meeting.
Correct.
So,
We agreed to the budget for next year, but the outlying years, we still have some disagreement and want to see some improvements
Okay,
made. So we are waiting on that.
I wouldn't call it disagreement, we would, further discussion.
Further discussion.
So when's your next discussion?
April 2nd?
Your next ALG meeting is on the 26th.
No, that was canceled, if you look at, it's April 2nd, I think. It's the first week of April, it's not this week.
April 2nd, I can't.
I think it's April, I'm pretty sure.
I will-
David's saying, yeah, it's April 2nd.
So the process should be, you reach agreement on the plan, then on April 7th, we ratify the plan,
Yes,
and then it goes in the warrant
yep,
as stated. And because we usually refer to it in our Finance Committee message. So it should be the one that we all agreed to.
right. Very good question, Steve. It's like you've been here before. I'm so eager to just send it to Fred. That's why I'm jumping the gun here on things. Is there anything else we need to discuss on that? No? All right.
All right, move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
April 2nd, I'm going to be remote.
All right.
Is what it is.
To take these home?
I'll take, how many more?